Welcome to IAS Factors Ancient India revision session for your UPSC Prelims and Concept Builder for the Mains. So today we are going to discuss the most important topic. You know why a small smile, because Buddhism and Jainism is one of the most important topics that UPSC has always asked ever. Because every time you see a question paper, you can see questions coming from Buddhism and also from Jainism. So in spite of this, again, let me give you a statutory warning, because here it's a very vast topic. Because when you learn religions, it will take years to complete the whole concepts of religion. But what you learn in the books is a condensed form of all those things from an exam perspective. You cannot know the each and everything under Buddhism or Jainism. It's a damn exhaustive stuff. So what we do is we are keeping in front, as the UPSC exam is concerned, you need to know certain facts and certain things which UPSC repeats again. But always understand, if you take 100% of Buddhism or Jainism, we can only complete at least 30%, because they can ask many things which cannot be learnt at all. So if you see a question in the prelims regarding Buddhism, a very tough question that nobody might know, then the best thing is to leave that question, because, or take a guess, you cannot know the 100% of these things. But since this is a very important area, I thought I'll do a separate session for Buddhism alone. So this class is completely about Buddhism, Gautam Buddha, from Gautama to the Buddha phase, and some of the important questions and some of the important concepts from the UPSC perspective that is very important for the examination. So I have actually made this session in that mode. Okay, so let's begin the session. Buddhism, let's begin the session and do read more. And yes, from Gautama to Buddha. So before we understand this phase, it is very important that you get some idea, because you know few things about this. Obviously, you know that he was a king, he was a prince, and he was married. He had a child, and after marriage, maybe he left the kingdom. He left his kingdom, and he went in search of enlightenment. And after moving on to the enlightenment phase, he finally gets enlightenment and he becomes Buddha. He is a teacher to many people. So next important concept is what he is a teacher. So what are the concepts? His type of teaching. What are the types of teaching according to Buddha? So you need to know the type of concepts, and there are certain terms involved with Buddhism you need to know, and there are certain terminologies like Arhat, Bodhisattva, Avalokiteshvara, Vajrayana. These are some things which you need to know about Buddhism. So once you know the story, the ultimate thing is knowing about the concepts and the terminologies and ideologies. Nirvana, what is the concept of Nirvana? What is the concept of samsara? All these are some of the ideologies, some of the concepts, some of the terminologies. So what happens is, once you know the basics of Buddhism, the questions usually in UPSC, either they can be ideology based, or the concepts in Buddhism based, or some of the terminologies. Terminologies can be so many. There are so many. What is samsara? It can be a lot of terminologies can come into play. So here we need to be very sure. So this is the basic context. Now we'll add the facts. We'll add the facts very quickly, so you can actually be prepared for the exam. So we'll start off with the birth and early life. Born as Siddhartha Gautama in Lumbini, so place is very important, Nepal, around 563 BC. He belonged to the Shakya clan, and the father's name was Shuddhodana and mother was Maya. So all these are previous year questions. His Lumbini, Shakya Kshatriya clan, Shuddhodana Maharaja, and his mother Queen Maya. And he was raised in Kapilavastu, shielded from life suffering. So he never saw sufferings. He was living a very luxurious life. Obviously, So these all are important questions. So one common factor that you can draw is both Buddha and Mahavira. They're all both of them. Mahavira, both of them were princes or kings. So these are some of the important, and the four sites that changed him. The four sites, these are all important. They can be asked. At age 29, he encountered an old man that kept him thinking, a very sick person, and a corpse, and an ascetic. So these four things, or the four sides of this people, completely made an impact on his choice, an impact on his thought process. So remember, old man, sick person, a dead body, a corpse, and an ascetic man. This prompted his quest to understand and overcome suffering. This is important in this regard. So please remember, this is important in this regard. And later on, these are the sites that changed his life. And he left his home. Mahabinish Kramana, that is a word. He left his home in search of enlightenment. He left everything behind, the luxury, the palace, the king, his wife, kid. Buddha's son's name is Rahula. That was also asked. Buddha's son's name was Rahula. So please always remember Rahula. And renunciation, he left his palace, Mahabinish Kramana, and he went into search enlightenment. So let's understand. He left his palace to seek truth, practiced severe austerities for 6 years. 6 years he tried his best. He left at 29 and he left 6 years. Extreme asceticism was futile. Adopted the middle path, attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya, and became the Buddha. This is very important, and you need to note a very important position called the Madhyama Patha, the Madhyama Varga, the middle path, the Madhyama Patha. Because he understood, but Mahavira had a different opinion, I guess. Jainism, Mahavira inflicted maximum pain onto his body, but he realized that extreme asceticism was futile. He took a middle path and became the Buddha. Delivered his first sermon, the Dharma Chakra Parivartana Sutta, at Sarnath. Very important, this is all question. His first, after enlightenment, he gave his first sermon, means speech. The Dharma Chakra Parivartana at Sarnath, introducing the four noble truths. Taught for 45 years across the Gangetic plain, passed away in Kushinagara. You don't say passed away, he attained Mahaparinirvana. That is how you say. He attained Mahaparinirvana at 80, attaining Mahaparinirvana. So all these are questions for the prelims. Catch it. Middle path, 6 years, 35, Dharma Chakra Parivartana, Sarnath, Kushinagara, 80, Mahaparinirvana. All these are MCQ questions. Okay, so learn that way. And finally, move on. So let's take another questions. What are the important other aspects? The core teaching, the four noble truths. He believed in the four noble truths, or Arya Satyas. They are the real Satyas, the Arya Satyas. The world is full of misery. Desire is the cause of misery. If you want to end desire and misery, follow Eightfold Path. That is the concept. Desire is the world is full of misery. Desire is the cause of misery. If you want to end, follow Eightfold Path. So dukkha, four noble truths are dukkha, samudaya, nirodha, magga. So these terms can be asked in the examination because they ask some questions from Buddhism. So dukkha is life is suffering. Samudaya, suffering is caused by desire. Nirodha, cessation of desire leads to end of suffering. Magga means Eightfold Path. The world is full of misery. Desire is the cause of misery. If you end desire, then your suffering will end. Follow Eightfold Path. These are the four Arya Satyas, or the four noble truths. Dukkha, Samudaya, Nirodha, Magga. Even if you forget this, try to recollect Dukkha, Samudaya, Nirodha and Magga. Try to recollect all these names, because these names can sometimes save you. What are the Magga means? Follow Eightfold Path. So this is the most important Eightfold Path which is said by Buddha. So one thing is very common here. You can add a right in all the aspects. That means right is a common factor. Right view, right intention, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness and concentration. So right is a common factor. So apart from that, there are 8 important things, and I've actually made an acronym to make it easy, because you will forget about intention, livelihood, etc. That is why, right as common, I've created an acronym called Visal Mech. You can remember as Vishal Mech or anything that you want to remember, because sometimes the weirdest acronyms are most easy to remember. Remember my friend Vishal from mechanical engineering, Vishal Mech. You can remember. So Mech only has C, not H. Vishal do not has H. So Visal Mech. So remember, V stands for view, intention, speech, action, livelihood, mindfulness, effort, and concentration. So my friend Vishal from the mechanical engineer, we call him Visal Mech. Remember? Maybe you will remember the Eightfold Path, Visal Mech. What is the path? Remember that. And what is the 3 marks of existence? This is not asked in the UPSC examination, but most probably Eightfold Path they have asked. Which of the following are the Eightfold Path? They have asked about this. And what are the 3 marks of existence according to Buddhism? One is Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta. Anicca means impermanence, Dukkha means suffering, Anatta means non-self. So kindly remember, what are the 3 marks of existence is an easy thing to remember. Anicca. So I'm not giving much acronyms here. And what are the other important concepts? One is karma. The intentional actions influencing futures, rebirth. Because according to it, there is a cycle of rebirth and birth. You are born again, you live, you die again, you are born again. So there is a cycle of birth and death. Like we say in Hinduism, there is a cycle of death and birth. Karma is what you do, is what your actions are. Your life, whether it is birth or rebirth, is completely dependent on the karma that you do. And samsara is the cycle of birth and death. This cycle that I just drew is the samsara, the concept of samsara. And next is nirvana, liberation from the cycle of samsara. You are completely liberated from the cycle of birth and death. It is a feeling of absolute bliss. So always understand, nirvana is not like a concept in Hinduism or in Christianity. We say swarga, we say heaven. It's not, nirvana is not a place. It's a sense of feeling. It's a liberation. It's a blissful feeling. And pratitya samputpada. They can ask you this. What do you mean by pratitya? I told you there are some concepts in Buddhism that you need to learn. What is pratitya samputpada? Next time, these are all very difficult to remember terms, but whenever you can see these terms, you can make something. So I'll make it simple. The pratitya samputpada is called dependent origination. Forget about all those things. I'll make it very simple. Always understand, nothing exists on its own. Everything comes into being because of other things. So you're always dependent. Take an example. Imagine a plant. It grows because there is soil, water, sunlight, and seed. If any of this is missing, it will not exist. Simple. So next time when you listen pratitya samputpada, always understand, dependent origination means nothing can exist without anything. Remember, plant. You need soil, water, seed, everything, sunlight. So in the same way, our thoughts, actions, sufferings, and even happiness all come from many causes, not from a single thing. It is dependent on many aspects. So pratitya samputpada, dependent origination is the meaning. Remember the plant. It exists because of various things. And the next important thing is regarding Buddhist councils. So I am just making you remember, we have already discussed about the Indus Valley, we have prehistoric period, the Stone Age, and the Vedic period, and the later Vedic period. And I already gave an introduction about the Mahajanapadas. I told you that we have to learn about the 16 Mahajanapadas. Likewise, small tribal kingdoms became small counties or small kings, and finally it became an amalgamation of a big Mahajanapada. 16 of them were existing, and in parallel, you can see from Mahajanapada period to the Mauryan period, to the post-Mauryan period, and to the Gupta period, or even to the post-Gupta period, you can see a striking factor. This is the classical time for Buddhism and Jainism. Majority of the kings or the rulers were from the Buddhist religion, including Ashoka, Kanishka, and only in the Guptan period you can see a Hindu revivalism. Hinduism after late Vedic period is completely objected, because that is the reason, why I forgot to tell you that reason. Simple question, just putting it in 1 minute. Why do you think Buddhism and Jainism became successful? Only because later Vedic period, the society, the worst scenarios in the societies reached its peak. Casteism became extreme. It was very difficult to live in that. If you're actually from a lower community, if you're from a Shudra Vaishya, it was very difficult to survive in that time. So most of the people, it as a anti-Brahmanism, as a Brahminical reaction, many of the people wanted to lead a simple life. That was the time when Buddhism and Jainism was very simple. It sounded very simple to the people. Simple life. No, is there a concept of God in those time? No idols, simple living, no past and death, do good things. So it was a very simple. That is the reason why the simplicity of Buddhism and Jainism attracted a lot of people. And casteism was also a big issue. People were tired of Hinduism. One important factor. That is the reason why during this time, most of the kings were Buddhist or Jain kings. So obviously, when the king is Buddhist or Jain, imagine the support Buddhism and Jainism get. But during the Guptan time, the Hinduism was revived. The Hindu revival came. Kings again became Hindus. And after the ancient India, you can see Buddhism and Jainism is declining. They are declining. Jains people are going back to the top of the mountains because they believe in the mountains of immortality concept. They all went into small places because they are declining. Because they lost the royal patronage. Kings are no longer Buddhist. They're all Hindu kings again. This is the reason for the end of Buddhism also. So that is the reason why when you learn Buddhist council, you should know there are 4 important major Buddhist councils. It was called by famous people. You can see this column. All of them are kings. Ajatashatru, Kala Ashoka, Ashoka, Kanishka. So the 4 councils, these are all important PYQs. They can ask this question again. So remember, the first one is in 483 BC, Rajgir, presided by Mahakashyapa. Buddhist teachings were compiled. Second is 383 BC, exactly 100 years later. It was held in Vaishali, presided by Kal Ashoka. It is not Ashoka, it is Kal Ashoka. Because you need to we'll learn about the Haryanka dynasty after Mahajanapada period, Haryanka dynasty, then you have the Shishunaga dynasty, then you have the Nanda dynasty, and after the Nanda dynasty, the last Nanda ruler, Dhanananda, was overthrown by Chandragupta Maurya, which starts the Mauryan Empire. So this is how it starts. So always remember, Kala Ashoka is a famous king of the Shishunaga dynasty. And then Ashoka in 250 BC in Pataliputra, Mogaliputaptissa. His name is Mogaliputaptissa. Exclusion spread to Sri Lanka. And the fourth one is in 72 CE. It is actually coming into 72. It's in Kashmir. It's forwarded by the Kanishka. Vasumitra held this compilation of Mahayana text. So this is very, very important. So either ways, who were the patrons? Ajatashatru 1, Kalashoka 2, Ashoka 3, Kanishka 3. And the dates are not, you cannot remember the dates, but the location. The first one was Rajgir, Vaishali, Pataliputra, Kashmir, presided by Mahakashyapa, Sabakami, Mogaliputaptissa, and Vasumitra. What were the outcomes? They compiled the teachings, they addressed the disputes between the sects, exclusion of spread to Sri Lanka, compilation of Mahayana books. So please try to remember this. Councils, that is the reason why Buddhist councils are important. And then always understand there are 2 important groups called Theravadas and Mahayana. So please understand the Hinayana and Mahayana basically are 2 different sects. See, Buddha never said he is a god. Buddha never said he is a god. But what happened is, Buddha made things very simple. So people who believed in the original teachings of Buddha, are the Hinayana or Theravadas. And there is a group of Mahayana people who made Buddha the god and inspired it from Hinduism. You have idols of Buddha, you have statues of Buddha, you pray to the statues just like you do in Hinduism. Exactly, you Hinduified You Hindufied the whole Buddhism. That is Mahayana. You even believe that Buddha has got an avatara like Mahavishnu. So people who believed in the original teachings are the Hinayana Buddhism. They do not believe in idols, etc. They viewed him as a teacher, not a deity. Scriptures in Pali, they are very predominant in Sri Lanka, Myanmar and Thailand. So that is the Hinayana, the lesser vehicle. It's called the Yana, it's the vehicle. It's called the vehicle. And the Mahayana means idol of Bodhisattva is the concept of Bodhisattva. I'll tell you what is the concept of Bodhisattva. Buddha is viewed as a divine being. He's like a god. Scriptures are in Sanskrit, spread to China, Korea, Japan. So whenever you see a statue of Buddha, obviously it is a Mahayana Buddha, because the Hinayanas do not believe in gods, do not believe in the idols. So get this concept. Hinayana and Mahayana, two important sects of, they can ask this question. What is Vajrayana? It's called the thunderbolt. The thunderbolt. Like the lightning, the thunderbolt is the Vajra. It contains a lot of rituals and mantras, and it's very popular in Tibetan region. The Ladakhi region and the Tibet and China, they, according to this, Buddha is a magical existence. It's a magical existence. And predominant in Tibet and Mongolia, and emphasize on achievement in a single lifetime. So it's a very different concept, a lot of esoteric ritual stuff. And some of the philosophical schools related to the Buddhism. This can be also asked. They've asked this Madhyamaka, Yogachara, Sautantrika and Vaibhashika. You don't have to remember all those aspects, but still I'll actually make it simple. Madhyamika means Madhyamika, founded by Nagarjuna, Yogachara, Sautrantika, Vaibhashika. So it can be a difficult, but still I can explain simple. Madhyamika means the middle way. So nothing exists. See, it believe in shunyata, emptiness. Nothing exists. All things are empty. Even emptiness is empty. That sometimes you will actually be like a small guru. Avoid extreme things. Everything is real or nothing is real. So it avoids all the extremities. It takes a middle path. And it believes in the concept of shunyata. Nothing exists and even emptiness is empty. So you'll remember that concept. Emptiness is empty. It's Madhyamaka. And middle path school. And when you check, the next important is Yogachara. It's focused on mind only school. It's also called Chitta Matra, only consciousness. So what we think is outside, the theory is going to be very difficult. You can read it. Just read it if you want. Yogachara. Sautrantika means followers of the sutras. Santika gave priority to Buddha's discourses over later texts like Abhidharma. They believed in momentary existence. Things exist only for a tiny moment. They believe momentary. Life is a tiny moment. It's a great philosophy. Life is a tiny moment. Sautrantika. They follow sutras. And they follow Buddha's original teachings. Like Hinayana, they believe in original discourse, original speeches of Buddha. So, and Vaibhashika, obviously you had an idea, Sautantrika, Yogachara, and I've given you this important concept called revision, Vaibhashika. It is associated with the Sarvastivada school, detailed analysis of phenomena. So all these are important. So remember, Madhyamika, Yogachara, and mind only, the Sautrantika, tiny moments. And some of the literatures that is very important. Tripitaka, the three baskets to hold three different books. That is the meaning of Tripitaka. Tripitaka. Three baskets to hold three different books. Number one is Vinaya Pitaka. It contains, so these are the most important books of Buddhism, the three Pitakas. And there is even other books like Jataka Tales in Pali, Ceylon Chronicle, Mahavamsha, Deepavamsha. I'll discuss all those in the art and culture class, but still, know about this. Vinaya Pitaka means monastic rules. If you are a Buddhist follower, definitely if you are a Buddhist bhikshu, there is something called a Buddhist Sangha. You have to be a part of the Sangha. I'll definitely explain what you mean by a Sangha in this session. So Vinaya Pitaka means monastic rules. The rules that you have to adhere to. So you have to adhere to all these rules. Sutta Pitaka are Buddha's discourses, the Buddha's speeches. Abhidhamma Pitaka means philosophical and psychological analysis. So these are important. Vinaya Pitaka, rules of the monastery. Sutta Pitaka, Buddha's discourses. Next, philosophical and psychological analysis. And this is not asked in the examination. They can even ask, what are the 5 skandhas of Buddhism? What are the 5 aggregates? So you need to be very clear about what exactly is the 5 aggregates, or what do you mean by the skandhas. According to Buddhism, a human being is not a permanent self, but a combination of 5 aggregates. So Buddhism, they say that a human being, in order to have a human existence, the most important thing is that if you need to have a human existence, you should be composed of 5 aggregates. Number 1, Rupa, Vedana, Sanna, Sankhara, Vijnana. Rupa means form, Vedana means sensation, pleasure. You can understand it. Vedana means pleasure. Sanna means perception. Sankhara means mental formations, habits, etc. Vijnana means consciousness. So Rupa, obviously shape. Rupa, Vedana, Sanna, Sankhara, Vijnana. So remember, form, pain or sensation, perception, mental formation, consciousness. These are all philosophical concepts, but very important. I have not seen these questions in the previous year questions. So most likely they can ask Buddhist skandhas. What do you mean by that? 5 aggregates. And the next important concept is, who is a bodhisattva? Definitely in Buddhism, they talk about bodhisattva, or who is an arhat. Who is an arhat? They have asked this also. So you need to know, in mains also you need to write, you can write about what is a bodhisattva or who is an arhat. Are they the same? No, they're very similar, but there is an excess. A bodhisattva is someone who has the ability to become a Buddha. So you are X is a person, he or she can become a Buddha. He can become fully Buddha, fully enlightened Buddha, but chooses to stay in the world to help all other beings reach the enlightenment first. So when you attain this, imagine you are a person, you are attaining this Mahaparinirvana. That means you are out of this samsara. Samsara means what? Life and death. You are out of the cycle. You are in a blissful feeling. You're in a different state. But Bodhisattva people become Buddha. They get out of the cycle of samsara, means life and death, but they come back to the earth. They come back. Why? They come back because they want to help the other people to attain the enlightenment. That is a good thing. It is like you become an enlightened being, you get out of this world, you get out of this whole consciousness, but these peoples, they get the enlightenment and they come back. That is Bodhisattva. The UPSC has asked this question, so please try to understand. Key qualities: compassion. You need to have compassion, wisdom, prajna, understand the truth like emptiness, vow. They take a Bodhisattva vow. I will not enter Nirvana until all beings are free from suffering. So this will never happen. This is a loop. This is going to be a loop. I'll not enter the state of Nirvana. I'll not come out of the samsara and be in a blissful state until all my fellow beings have got free from the sufferings. That is never going to happen, obviously. That is why it is a loop. And this is Bodhisattva. There are many Bodhisattva. And some of the examples are Avalokiteshvara. If you go to YouTube and search the mantra of Avalokiteshvara, it is very, very soothing to listen. And you must have heard, in Vajrayanism, you must have heard the famous mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum is a very strong mantra of Vajrayanism, and it needs to be narrated. It needs to be even, just like we said, Vedas has got chandas, the meter. Even pronouncing this mantra, there is a lot of energy happening if you do it the right way. So Om Mani Padme Hum is one of the important things. If you have seen the Ladakhi riders, bullet riders in Ladakh and Himalayas, you must have seen a piece of papers hung in the bike. So they are actually, when the bike moves, it is actually hitting around the winds. In that it is written Om Mani Padme Hum. If you go to Ladakh, you will actually see why the flags have this point is because when the wind actually blows, the mantra is actually flung. When the mantras are flung in the air, the mantras radiate energy. That is why there is a huge energy sensation in all this area. That is why Om Mani Padme Hum is very important. So know about worshipped as Manjushri Buddha, Maitreya Buddha. There is a future Buddha. currently a bodhisattva. All they've asked this question, Manjushri, Maitreya, and there is even another Buddha called Amitabha. Manjushri, Maitreya, one with the, so remember all this. And next is Arhat. Who is an Arhat? Who is an Arhat? Arhat is a person who has completely ended suffering. He has overcome desire, ignorance, and ego. He has broken free from the cycle of birth and rebirth. They achieve Nirvana and do not take birth again. That means by following Eightfold Path and understanding Four Noble Truths, they have attained Nirvana. No ending, no suffering, no ego, no ignorance, no desire. They followed the Eightfold Path, and in the cycle of death and birth, no negative karmas. They are out from the cycle of death and birth, samsara. They are in a state of bliss. They are in the Nirvana. They do not, but there is a difference between Arhat and Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva also does the same thing, but Bodhisattva does not get into Nirvana. They come back. They come back to help the people. But Arhats do not come back. They are gone. So this is the key difference between Bodhisattva and Arhat. Kindly remember. Very important. So remember path. Arhat is a type of a concept in Theravada. That means the older Buddhism. It's Bodhisattva is new, Mahayana. Personal liberation. Liberation of all beings. They come back to help the people. After Nirvana, they does not return to samsara. They choose to come back. Self-effort and personal suffering. Bodhisattva is more of karuna to all human beings. So I think Bodhisattva is on a higher level. Arhat is more of a self-oriented level. You just take care of your selfish things. You get out of this world structure. Okay. So this is Arhat and Bodhisattva. I'm sure you must be clear about this. And as I said, if you are a part of the Buddhist organization, there is a Buddhist Sangha. Sangha means association or community. It primarily refers to the bhikkhu, the monks, and bhikkhunis, the nuns order. Also includes lay followers in broader sense, especially in Mahayana tradition. So remember the Buddhist Sangha. Established after Buddha's first sermon, the Dharma Chakra Pravartana at the Sarnath. The first disciples became the first monks. Purpose to create a disciplined community, and Buddha's most famous Shishya or the disciple was Ananda. Ananda was his most favorite disciple. So Buddha created a lot of people like this, and this is the Buddhist Sangha. Now let's know the Vinaya rules and discipline. So when you are in the Sangha, as you said, Vinaya Pitaka. Vinaya Pitaka mean monastic laws. Vinaya rules has written about what are the rules and regulations that you should follow in the Sangha or the discipline factors. So the Sanghas are governed by Vinaya Pitaka, part of the Tripitaka. Rules of monastic life, codes of conduct, guidelines for ordination, interaction with the lay people, how to handle disputes, even how to live in the rainy season, how to get the food. All these are written in the Vinaya Pitaka. So when you hear Sangha, Vinaya Pitaka is important. This is the structure. The monks who left the household practice celibacy, meditation and study of Dharma. Nuns, bhikkhunis, started with Buddha's foster mother. Similar but stricter, but similar. Bhikkhunis are very similar, but they started with Mahaprajapati Gautami. It is Buddha's mother. So, and the next is laymen. You can also participate in this. It is the Upasakas and the Upasikas. Did not renounce household life, followed the 5 precepts and supported the Sangha. You can support the Sangha, but you have not left your household life. So monks, bhikkhus, bhikkhunis, and upasakas and upasikas. Remember this. And these are the 4 Mahastupa. I'll tell you about the art and culture in the cultural aspects of Buddha in that part, stupa construction. But understand 4 major Buddhist pilgrimage sites. Lumbini, birthplace of Siddhartha Gautama. Bodh Gaya, attained enlightenment under Bodhi tree. Sarnath, the first Dharma Chakra Pravartana. Kushinagar, Mahaparinirvana. So these are the 4 important major. He was born in Lumbini, enlightenment in Sarnath, enlightenment in Bodh Gaya, first speech in Sarnath, death. That means Mahaparinirvana in Kushinagara. So you can see one is in Nepal, Bihar, UP, and all of the 3 is in India, and Lumbini is now in Nepal, the Rupindehi district. So remember, birth, enlightenment, first speech, death. So So these are the 4 major important things that you remember about Buddha. Okay, so moving on. Next is the important places. Some of the important places that were associated with Buddha's life and mission. I think in 2014, 15 or 16, they asked this question, which are Buddha and some of the places which Buddha might have went. You have no idea because, but still I've tried to make some list. Kapila Vastu, Buddha spent his childhood. Definitely he knew this place. Rajgira or Rajagriha, Buddha spent several years. He delivered sermons. First council, Buddhist council, was held in Rajagriha. Vaishali, even the second Buddhist, I think the second Buddhist council was held here. Shravashti, Buddha performed many miracles. He spent most of the rainy seasons in this place. So Shravashti is associated with magics of Buddha. Nalanda, a major Buddhist center. Buddha was part of that. Pataliputra, the seat of Mauryan power. Third council, Buddhist council, was under Ashoka. So these are all related to not Buddha but Buddhism related places. Uruvela, area near Bodh Gaya where he meditated before enlightenment. You can see this place in Bihar. So this is in Uruvela. And Sankissa, place of Buddha's descent from the Tushita heaven. So Sankissa is a place. Mathura, important region regarding that. So Mathura is also part of that. So these are some of the important places. So also already remember Buddhism declined because most of the rulers who were patrons of Buddhism declined because during the Guptan time, Hindu revivalism came. Remember this point, and the next session, I'll come up with the important topic of Mahavira. Okay, so we'll wrap up this session right now. Do read, do try to understand most of the concepts here. Thank you.